Welcome back to the new SC podcast. I'm Hunter Ziesman here with Randall Ledet Jr. The Fiesta Bowl is a wrap. Ole Miss, not best ending to a historic season. I think there's still a lot to be super positive about in this game. It went down to the wire. I know there were some questionable calls down the stretch. Now that the game's done, dust is settled, we want to talk about some of our thoughts from the game, some key takeaways, and then some light discussion about maybe what Ole Miss has to carry into next year. Big game last night. Randall, what are your thoughts kind of overall on how the game went and some key thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, overall, in terms of how the game went, I think a theme for me was just resilience, right? In this game, if, neutral person watching the game, it looked like Miami dominated the line of scrimmage. It looked like Miami was kind of poised to take a bigger lead in the first half. And Ole Miss continued to fight, going into halftime, 17-13. Like, when you look at how the first half went, that was impressive. That's not just looking at it from a glass half full. It's just being real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you're an Ole Miss fan, like realistically watching the game, that, there was some bullying going on in the trenches. Like that's just, there's no way around it. And the third down conversion rate in the first half was pretty poor. But in the face of all of that, if you didn't watch the game and you just looked at box score, team stats and things like that, you would think that the score would have been a lot different, that Miami would have really dominated because of Ole Miss's third down struggles in the first half, how effective Miami was in running the ball. But they kept it together. And I think, honestly, on a positive note for Ole Miss, they did a pretty good job neutralizing one of the best aspects of Miami's game, which is the pass rush. They did a pretty good job of neutralizing that and still being able to work around it. So I was proud of that for them. I think that Lacey hurting his hamstring didn't help down the stretch. That was one thing that kind of took away from it. But they did good. They did play well. Ultimately, they're losing the game.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the game, it's like where you lost the game was the third down conversions. You talked about how their offensive line did relatively well, neutralizing Miami from getting sacks. I think those pressures is what contributed to that 2 for 10 third down conversion rate. And the main kind of eyesore that stuck out to me when I thought about the game was how many times that Ole Miss was stopped around the 40, 50, 30-yard line. This offense, when they're able to score quickly, hence why the time of possession was 18 minutes for them compared to 40-something for Miami, but they weren't able to get in the red zone enough in the first half to kind of, get 7 versus 3.
Yeah. And it was third downs on both sides of the ball. Like not being able to convert is why those drives fizzled out. Like you might get a first down, on a quick play or something like that, but we talked about it in the preview that how important special teams was going to be. If you get yourself in field goal range, it's going to be hard to complete drives against Miami. They did have the missed field goal after some really, really good ones. But yeah, that was a key part there. And I think they were getting set up in third and longs. And that was a tough thing where Miami was a little bit more comfortable sending some blitzes. We saw that a few times where they felt comfortable to put to gamble and put it all on the line to.
Right. And that's an area that I want to kind of put a microscope on. Pete Golding, obviously a defensive mind. It felt like in the second half, they were really just rushing 3 or 4. And Carson Beck, he was back there grilling hamburgers and throwing the ball. I was like, man, this dude is, they're playing on grass, but his jersey's clean. He's not even getting touched.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because it was so difficult to get pressure on him with this really, really good O-line, but they did it early in the game. They had it, a couple sacks, a couple really good pressures that some Carson Beck got out of. When I looked at the defense, one of the things I thought of was that they kind of they spread their eggs into too many baskets. We're not going to really commit to stopping the run, but we're not going to really get lock them down in the pass game. They were soft everywhere. And that's what led to a lot of 4, 5, 6-yard gains, a lot of screen passes that weren't, properly adjusted to. They didn't bring their guys in enough to stop the run. So that's why they were ended up in 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 often. Miami was.
Right.
So it felt like they didn't really commit to one aspect of the defense.
I agree with that. Right. And it kind of left the middle of the field wide open. We saw it a couple times with Carson Beck being able to convert on third downs by scrambling. The game leading touchdown came as a byproduct of scrambling. Just leaving that middle of the field open. You're not necessarily putting a spy on Beck because he hasn't really shown to be a runner this season compared to Chambliss. What do you feel like was the turning point moment in this game that kind of swayed Miami to the top?
They didn't really have like a turning point because it came down to right at the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
the game had a very solid vibe from start to finish that Miami is the more physically dominant team. Ole Miss is kind of getting some buy on them, and they're not really able to stop them. Like it persisted throughout the same message, really, for me.
Right. Yeah. And it felt like a game that if Ole Miss was to win, and again, non-bias, it felt like a game that Ole Miss was going to steal from them. Like when they took
Yeah.
that lead and they got the 2-point conversion, like surgical drive by Trinidad Chambliss, like just incredible passes. Caleb Odom getting the 2-point conversion catch. It just, but it felt like it was like, man, like, it felt like Miami just kind of kept leaving them in the game, but it felt like they were going to let Ole Miss steal the game.
Yeah.
And it required Ole Miss to make stops, which they hadn't necessarily done enough in the game, which is why the time of possession was so high for Miami. The turning point moment to me was that last drive. I think it was second or third down, and there was a pass interference call, and it was on Miami's side of the field, and it felt like, okay, Ole Miss has the lead. They're playing decent coverage. They're not doing a great job stopping the run, but like a turnover could happen. We just saw one happen 2 drives ago. But then you get that PI call, that's a 15-yard penalty, and now you're kind of getting closer to your side of the field, and that's where I felt like Ole Miss they just kept breaking. They kept breaking once it got close to half 50-yard line and going toward the side of the field. So to me, that was a turning point in the game.
Yeah, no, it's a good point to bring up, and how it relates to how often the defense was on the field when they were like inches away from getting off the field. Like you have a good first down, a good second down. You get to third down, and they convert a 62% conversion rate for Miami on third and fourth down cumulatively. So they were on the field quite often, and pass interference, I think, is a word that Ole Miss fans don't want to hear right now because of the missed call on the last drive. Which I think everything should be called regardless of the outcome or the status of the game. Like if it's the last play, if it's the first play, if you would have called it pass interference on 1st and 10 in the second quarter, like you call it at the end of the game as well. That's how I see it.
When you think about the college rule, like I get maybe not calling it for the NFL because you put the ball on the 1-yard line. College rules wise, they run like the 35. They probably put them on the 20. That's still like a reasonable area to defend if you're Miami, and it's a reasonable area to be able to get a deserving second shot if you felt like that call was meant to be called. It did look like there was some interference by the rule book. So, I don't like this. Well, like you said, don't make that call at the end of the game. They did the same thing in basketball. Like, don't let the game be determined by the refs. It's like, well, play the game appropriately. Don't interfere with the pass. Like, what do you mean, deciding when and where to make certain calls? So, I agree there. And I think about this, the last key for me was just, and as a byproduct of Lacey kind of being hurt, 121 rushing yards, 71 of those came from one run.
Yeah. They went down on attempts. Like they backed off on the attempts. And I think that was the big piece. And it was because of really the injury to him. I think if not, then maybe there would have been a little bit more legs used in this one. And that would have been huge. We talked about it in the preview, how important it is. Like if Ole Miss gets out of their heavy running attempt game, it starts going more passing downs. It gets a lot harder for them.
And it helps the defense, right? I mean, these guys were on the field 44 of the 60 minutes. Like it's a lot of football to be playing after playing 2 games, prior to. Big congrats to Miami. Well played game. They look like the hottest team in the country right now outside of Indiana. Carson Beck, stats very similar to Chambliss, 23 for 37, 268. Chambliss had 277, 1 pick, but like 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. He looks cozy being back in Florida and playing football.
His second highest rushing yard total on the season. It's not anything crazy. It's not like he's a mobile guy, but he ran for 30 yards. If you take out the sack adjustment, I think he had 32 against USF. So he made the plays that he needed to do outside of just being kind of that game manager that he's been pigeonholed as and touted as. Most of his 60% of his throws were less than 10 yards. So he knows the kind of game he's going to play. It was just a matter of the players on Miami, Malachi Toney, for example, that could just make things happen. Fletcher getting those additional yards after contact. So yeah, congrats to Miami. And then tonight we'll have Oregon, Indiana to see who Miami will be playing. But they've definitely throughout the playoff run have earned their spot in the national title game. This is no squeaking by like BS title run. Like they've definitely earned their spot playing back in their home stadium.
No doubt. And I think I'm going to toot my own horn. I made a statement about one of the best offenses in the playoffs when we first started our playoff coverage, and I think Ole Miss is still one of those best offenses. I think I said that, and you could say Indiana, but 27 points put up against this defense with Miami is really impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. Like we
didn't see a Heisman quarterback do that. We didn't see Marcel Reed do that. Like it's not a moral victory, but it says a lot about Chambliss in this offense.
Yeah, no, that's been their bread and butter on the season. And now as you look forward, like you're maintaining a lot of parts of your offense. Hopefully, still kind of pending what happens with the Trinidad Chambliss situation with the waiver. But if all that goes through, and it seems like they have contingency plans on ways to get around that we'll be keeping an eye on, where he could be back. And if he's back, you got Quan Lacey back. Like you have some key core components, and then you get to enter next season with maybe a clean slate of the drama of the season. It won't be clean for long because you play LSU in week 3. So the drama will get hot again, but we'll keep an eye on the transfer portal in the next couple of days. They've done a pretty good job of retaining the players. Maybe that's a byproduct of being on a playoff run. So maybe we'll see some changes in the roster over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and they've brought some good players in. I think I saw that they brought in a pretty good linebacker as well, and I think they brought in the defensive back from Tulane, who's pretty solid. So I expect Ole Miss to continue to thrive in this new SEC landscape.
Yeah, they got Jaheim Otis, the Alabama transfer to Colorado, now going to be at Ole Miss next year. So that's another good addition. It's continuing to grow. I know they have a lot of room to improve on defense. Like if the defense was a little bit better this year, this would have been one of the most dangerous teams because of what they were able to do offensively. So,
honestly, if they had the defense they had last year with Dart with this offense this year, they're probably in the Natty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got Walter Nolan. You had all those guys that we talked about last season. That defense was disgusting. They would have definitely been in the national championship.
Yeah. They had a lot more pass rush. An incredible difference in the pass rush for sure. So that would have been huge in this one. Now you open next year with another ACC game. You play Louisville in Nashville. So that'll be a good season opener to be getting ready for before you start SEC play, the week after.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Good running back over there at Louisville with Isaac Brown, and well-coached team with Jeff Brom. And ideally that could help bolster your resume when it comes to CFP rankings coming out. Louisville's typically a competitive team. One of the 2 teams to beat Miami this year. So
yeah. Absolutely. So a lot to look forward to. Miami fans, if you're watching, here's your flowers. You were right in the comments that you guys were going to win. So congrats there. Let us know what you think about the game tonight and who you think you're going to be playing in the national title game. Ole Miss fans, anything that you're looking forward to in the off season, any final thoughts that you have on the team, let us know. We love looking at the comments on that. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe button. Love talking college football. Have some good off season ideas that we want to bring to you. So be sure to tune into that. I'm Hunter Ziesman here with Randall Ledet Jr., new SC podcast. And until next time.